Alexander McQueen's debut Haute Couture collection for Givenchy, presented in January 1997, was conceived under extraordinary circumstances. With barely 11 weeks to prepare, he entered one of the most venerable institutions of Parisian fashion, carrying both immense expectation and barely concealed skepticism. This was not simply a first collection. It was a trial by fire, an encounter between British radicalism and French couture tradition. McQueen approached the task with unusual clarity. Couture, as he understood it, was not an arena for gratuitous ornamentation or decorative excess. Structure and finesse, he insisted, were its true foundations. Rather than attempting to overwhelm the house with novelty, he chose restraint, clean lines, disciplined tailoring, and a rigorous respect for craftsmanship. In doing so, he signaled that his ambition was not to dismantle Givenchy, but to reassert couture as a language of authority and precision. Unable to speak French and accompanied by a small British team, including stylist Katie England, art director Simon Costin, and designer Catherine Brickhill, McQueen found himself navigating a foreign system governed by ceremony, hierarchy, and history. Access to the Givenchy archives proved essential. There, he encountered a lineage defined by purity of line and aristocratic composure, qualities he resolved not to imitate, but to reinterpret through his own technical mastery. The conceptual framework of the collection emerged from Greek mythology, specifically the legend of Jason and the Argonauts, and their quest for the Golden Fleece. The choice was neither decorative nor academic. It functioned as a thinly veiled metaphor, the outsider embarking on an improbable journey, confronting resistance, tradition, and impossible odds. In this sense, the narrative was deeply autobiographical. Gold and white, colors long associated with the house of Givenchy, formed the collection's visual core. Rams's horns, sourced from the estate of Isabella and Detmar Blow, were gilded and transformed into sculptural symbols of sacrifice, power, and conquest. Embroidered oak leaves, referencing the iconography of the French Republic and the Napoleonic era, appeared on corsets and floor-length coats, grounding the mythological theme in national symbolism. The garments themselves were exercises in controlled opulence. Feathers were layered with surgical precision. Rose petals were suspended between sheer white organza. Bodices were molded and draped in silk that appeared molten, as though poured directly onto the body. Nothing was accidental. Every embellishment served structure rather than obscuring it, reinforcing McQueen's insistence that couture must begin with cut and construction. The show took place at the École des Beaux-Arts, a neoclassical setting whose gravity underscored the ceremonial nature of the occasion. 55 looks were presented. Model Marcus Schenkenberg, dusted in gold and wearing monumental wings, presided over the runway as a modern Icarus, an image poised between ascension and downfall. The symbolism was unmistakable. Ambition, beauty, and danger held in precarious balance. Despite delays that tested the patience of the front row, the audience remained acutely aware of the significance of the moment. Among those present were Azzedine Alaïa, Anna Wintour, Hamish Bowles, Peter Lindbergh, Isabella Blow, and an elite circle of couture clients. What unfolded before them was not provocation, but declaration. McQueen was asserting his right to couture, not through rebellion, but through discipline. This debut did not seek to charm, nor did it attempt to modernize Givenchy through shock. Instead, it positioned McQueen as a designer, deeply attuned to the intellectual and symbolic weight of haute couture. He treated it as ritual rather than spectacle, as an art form capable of carrying myth, history, and personal narrative without collapsing into excess. In retrospect, Givenchy Spring/Summer 1997. Haute Couture stands as one of McQueen's most controlled and strategically intelligent works. It revealed a designer capable of restraint without submission, reverence without imitation. Far from a rupture, it was an assertion of legitimacy, a statement that couture, even at the end of the 20th century, could still function as a site of power, mythology, and meaning. McQueen did not conquer Givenchy in this collection. He negotiated with it. And in doing so, he proved that his vision, however radical elsewhere, was grounded in an uncompromising respect for craft, structure, and the enduring authority of couture itself.